The LA Chargers are busy this free agency. They didn't get Tom Brady, but what they did get was a huge upgrade defensively. They brought in Linval Joseph on the defensive line to help beef up the middle of their defense. And they signed Chris Harris, one of the best corners of the past, 10 to 15 years in the NFL. I mean, these two guys are going to be awesome for the Chargers, and they upgrade two spots that the Chargers really needed to upgrade. They upgraded the third corner spot or the second corner spot or whatever way you want to put it. Now the Chargers have one of the best corner trios in the league, arguably the best, with Chris Harris, Desmond King, and Casey Hayward. This is one of the best trios in the league. They can play man, they can play zone, they can play anything, and they can lock down receivers across the board. And that's very important when you consider that you're playing the Chiefs 2 times a season. Linval Joseph is going to add to the beef of this D-line. Add to the D-line that really needed to get beef up front. And I do like that they've added a little bit of size to this defensive line, because that's kind of been a weakness of the Chargers for the past couple of seasons. They've been all about the athletic, speedy, finesse defensive linemen, and this season, this offseason, they've gone out and they've added a huge man. And they also did that last year in the draft. So Joseph, 6'4", 329 pounds. He is 31 going on 32 years old. So 2 veterans for the Chargers, which is kind of interesting because I didn't expect them to go that route. If I'm surprised by any team this free agency, it is the LA Chargers. I'm surprised that they're going so hard after these veteran players, because these aren't young guys. These are veterans. Both have been former Pro Bowlers. Joseph was a Pro Bowler in 2016 and 2017. Past season in 2019, he played 13 games. He had 3 sacks, 44 tackles, 6 quarterback hits. Joseph is mostly known for his ability to stop the run. He, at times in his career, has been better as a pass rusher than others. Earlier in his career, I would say he was a better pass rusher because he had a little bit more wiggle, a little bit more quickness, and a little bit more youth to him. Now he's a big plugger in the middle, and he's still phenomenal at run stuffing, run stopping, and he's one of the strongest defensive linemen in the league. He's going to add that element to this Chargers defense, an element that has been very much needed for a long time. So it's going to take pressure off Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram for their ability to stop the run. And when you have a big guy like this who's so disruptive and such a player to handle in the middle of a defense, that's going to make offenses change the way they run the football and the way they scheme up runs, because you know you have to block this guy in the middle. So Linval Joseph, I love this signing. He was basically just released from the Vikings because they needed cap space, and he was making a little bit too much for their taste. But with the Chargers, I think he is going to add one of their missing pieces. They didn't have many missing pieces on the defense, but this is perhaps one of the best missing pieces adds of the entire free agency so far. The other ad, of course, was Chris Harris, former All-Pro. At one point in his career, some would argue was the best corner in football at certain points. But Chris Harris is still very good. Chris Harris last year for the Broncos lined up versus number 1 receivers basically every game, whether it was outside or it was in the slot. And the thing I love about this move is that now you have 3 corners who not only can play on the outside or can play in the slot, but all of them have experience playing as boundary corners, and all of them have experience playing as slot corners, as nickel corners. So that versatility is there. Plus, Chris Harris is such a smart player, such a good player in the run game as well, that I could even see him making the switch to safety if need be. Like, that's the type of player this guy is. He's just such a great football mind, such a good man-to-man player. And yes, he doesn't quite have the speed he used to, but he's still very physical at the line of scrimmage and still very quick side to side, which makes him still a really good slot corner. He might not be the guy he was in his prime, but he's still probably one of the at least 20 best corners in the game, if not top 15, if not borderline top 10. He was really good at times last year, but the Broncos secondary around him kind of fell apart, fell to pieces. Chris Harris will be a major upgrade to their number 3 slot at the corner position, and I love these two moves. Stealing from a rival from the Broncos, love it. Getting a big, beefy man in the middle of your defensive line was much needed for the Chargers. So Linval Joseph, Chris Harris, two excellent signings for the LA Chargers.